are currently in the creative entrepreneurial approach of augmented reality in business and technology. Just a little bit of background for myself. I am a trained architect. I also have gone through a lot of education through various institutions. However, my focus generally is on design technology, and a lot of the business that we do as a design practice focuses on creative solutions. What does that mean? A lot of what we do engages with the client beyond just the architecture and built world. We sometimes work with institutions, we consult with startups, we play with different fabrication methods. We also engage in kind of the business development and product development of a lot of work that we get approached. What you see on our website might not solely be the type of work that we actually work on. However, we also kind of do from, I would say, scratch to finish of a lot of kind of project proposals. So a lot of what we actually look in is the key to what my business partners and I are interested in is the kind of business technology and how people focus on the market opportunities. I think one of the key aspects of business development in a creative entrepreneurial approach requires the understanding of how market innovation could focus a generative thought in the process of design. I think in the architectural education, however, a lot of times students aren't kind of taught the way to market their business or potentially how to kind of launch their business in a manner that allows them to understand the functional properties of an experience. So a lot of times you go through, let's say, your undergrad, your grad, and your master's, you're always kind of looking into processes and kind of tooling of your design. What is fun for me, at least, and my business partners who are actually non-architects, we focus a lot of the energy on how do you test the viability of a product. So such as with startups, we focus a lot of times on how do we launch a product, but also how desirable in the market competitiveness could it be for launching a new idea. These are some kind of previous projects we've worked on. A lot of it is just kind of installation work and kind of work that play with atmospheric, passive, and active technologies. This is one of the most recent kind of explorations that we did at the London Design Biennale. It's called Sensorial States. It was the official Hong Kong pavilion at the London Biennale. And what we did is something very simple. It was just a whole room of wallpapers, but it's more of a storytelling method of using the walls, literally if these walls could talk, as a passive way to kind of understand everyday lives and objects. So we have 4 key smells. It's thinking of how when you're actually experiencing a space, sensorial experiences such as smells heightens the storytelling aspects of your mind and kind of brings back the nostalgic thoughts of, let's say, at least for me, when I was growing up around the world, going back to certain restaurants, stores, and foods really bring out smells of what Hong Kong means to me. So for examples, we were able to extract the smell of egg tarts and put it on the wall so people who've never been to Hong Kong would be able to scratch the wall and smell egg tarts. We had roasted duck, we had temples, and we also had opium, and opium is a very key aspect of the kind of war during that time. When I was doing my GSD kind of doctoral, I also got myself involved with the Miami Design Pavilion that was opened with some I think 200 objects that were displayed there. This was a couple of years ago, and it was a quite fun experience because it allowed us to further, or allowed me to further engage on kind of the kind of museum and design route. Before establishing my own practice, I worked a couple of years with called Pima Blau. So I'm still in good terms with Wolf Pricks, and this is one of the major projects that I was very thoroughly involved with, from the design as a junior architect through the planning, through understanding how the built set worked. So I was very fortunate to kind of learn all the aspects of it. It's not too big, so it was actually very feasible in terms of design. The idea was kind of like Zaha's Chanel Pavilion, where it was supposed to travel around the world with the Bavarian opera. I don't think it actually went beyond Germany because the opera didn't really travel with it. However, it was ended up being a landmark there for quite a while, and I still think it's there and never really moved. But it was built so that it actually was decomposable and deconstructible. These are other kind of projects that we did at the Museum of Contemporary Arts in Shanghai. I collaborated with Alvin Huang on this. This is actually one of the digital futures workshops that we got to do in real life when we were in Shanghai. So that was actually really exciting. We only had 5,000 US dollars and we made an entire installation. The museum loved it. And the students that worked with us really engaged on like kind of fun, easy, rhino, grasshopper, and then like just we really sourced local materials to get this done. And to be very honest, it also withstood the monsoon season. So that's actually quite great. These are some finalist competitions that we've done. This is another proposal we did for the Harvard Art Museum, which for the Lightbox Gallery before the Renzo Piano building was built. These are some pavilion pitches that we did for another client. And I think what is, I'll let you watch this first. So I don't know if there's music in the background, but what I'm going to talk over, actually Eva did the production of this video and we had really crappy videos to put it together. But the idea of this pavilion was for the Shenzhen Biennale that was recently closed. It was done in the Shenzhen Biennale and it was done at the Shenzhen Futian train station. So a lot of the work that we did for this little installation was really exciting in the sense that we got to engage on kind of the understanding of how to interact with passive screens. It was something that we never really had the opportunity to look into. But more importantly, we were really interested with this project. So I'm going to focus a little bit more on this project and unfold a little bit behind the scenes. We were interested in the future of consumption. What is the next economy and what happens if we were engaging ourselves with different types of projects that look into how we consume as designers. We looked at the defunct Itza restaurant that was in San Francisco. It closed in 2016. We looked also at the upper right-hand corner. You could see the Tesco Subway ads. And then we also looked at like, how could people use robotics to kind of play with consumption. Behind the scenes, we were also developing a curatorial app that engaged with the display screens. This is the second stage that we proposed to have this installed in New York at the shed at the Hudson Yards. We don't know if this is going to go through due to COVID, but the idea was that there's a way that the app itself interacted with the kind of objects that were shown in the vending machine. I don't know if a lot of you kind of remember what kind of like automats were. We did a little bit of a history on that, which I'm not going to get into, but the original automat was actually built in 18 whatever, but it was 1867 or something in Germany. And a lot of the kind of original automats were actually used for taking food objects out of the machine itself. What we were trying to explore is whether or not instead of paying for objects, you could actually use your phone as a way to kind of do something to engage with the machine. And instead of paying a monetary sum, you could actually get the object in the machine without money. So instead of that, you're actually engaging with interactivity. You're playing with the machine itself, or you're creating something to complete a task with yourself, with a friend, or as a collaborative understanding, or you're actually meeting with someone to socialize, and then you're actually able to achieve that object. So the idea of the sharing economy in this strategy was that in order for us to kind of get the object, you're not really actually just paying it with $1. After you receive the point system to get it, you'll scan it, and then the item will be delivered to you. So you're actually just using that machine as a way to interact and also to kind of measure the use of the object, but you're not actually understanding the object as it being there. So it's kind of a mediator of the antithesis of, I would say, instant gratification you're actually kind of prolonging the process. You have to understand things and you have to learn about something before you're able to actually get the object. So into the workshop related thing. So last year I was one of the kind of designers that was invited by Adobe to play with their Project Arrow. The team itself is pretty small. And so AR right now is in a space that we really don't understand what could be done with it. So what I thought would be really exciting is whether or not we could engage with AR in a sense that's beyond just the art and museum and cultural world, whether or not individuals could use the AR system in, let's say, different ways of engaging businesses. I do have a few student projects that I would like to show that really kind of enhances it from my last semester. That plays in, let's say, auction houses, for instance, which is the Sotheby's fractional art ownership. I have another project that demonstrates how museums could be using ways of AR to kind of integrate with their art installations. I also have another student that played with it, played with AR and Adobe Arrow to kind of enhance the retail experience. So I will show you a little bit of those projects later on. And not so long ago, I also wrote with Antoine Picon the digital property AD book. So this came out like 2-3 years ago. And a lot of my research still surrounds the topic of digital property, authorship and ownership, and like how it's challenging the role that we are as designers. So that's me. Again, all of you who have been receiving my emails has my email. But if there's any questions, feel free to talk to us. I'm going to stop share and I'm going to let Eva do her presentation.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?